For the second time in my life, I'm guilty of committing a crime. Being horrifically ill-prepared for my fantasy football draft. Cause I doubt my league mates minded my team finishing 3-10, earning the ridicule of not just my friends and family, but of every man, woman, and child I've ever encountered. But this season, I find I'm so excited I can barely sit still or hold a thought in my head. I think it's the excitement only a future #FootClan champion can feel. A future champ at the start of a long journey, whose conclusion is dispersing a wide range of insults upon my league mates. Things like, "You're one pathetic loser," or "You must be a major disappointment to your parents," or my personal favorite, "You suck, buttface." You know who's going to be the toilet bowl champion this year? Not me. Not me. To join me on this journey, head to www.ultimatedraftkit.com. I hope to see you there.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
We're back!
Yes! Yes, I'm so happy to be here.
Welcome into the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, Thursday, July 5th. Did you have a wonderful 4th of July, Jason?
Oh, my 4th of July was... there were firecrackers and children.
Fireworks.
And people, and there was a...
Cracker Jacks.
There was a daytime, and then there was a nighttime. It's just unbelievable.
So we're recording this show a day early.
Oh, now you made me look like a liar.
As we want to give Brooks and everyone here a day off to enjoy the holiday. So we hope you did enjoy the holiday because you're listening to this on Thursday. I'm sure we did. I'm sure it was great.
Yeah, I can confirm it is fantastic.
Was fantastic.
I don't know where I am.
Mike isn't here, but Jay Grizz is in the house, and he's filling in admirably this week.
Doing a better job than Mike would.
And we have Mike back next week. Now, we do have another show. This is July, and we do 3 shows in July, which means a show will also hit your podcast app on Saturday.
That's right. And, our Saturday shows, we do some cool best ball tips. We do a lot of listener questions. So if you have questions you want on the show, go to thefantasyfootballers.com, submit a question. You can dial our voicemail line, leave us a voicemail.
Oh, man, do you know the voicemail?
Oh, I've only heard
number?
it 550 times. 302. 684 TFFB. No, I have no idea what it is.
302-464 TFFB is the
close.
voicemail hotline. That is a good idea, though, Jason. And
just keep them tight.
We're going to talk about players that we are super ashamed to love on Saturday. So do not miss that episode.
It's a very difficult question for me to answer because
you have no shame.
I was going to say, if you listen to the last Spitballers podcast, I have no shame. I have none. You cannot shame me. I do not embarrass, so I'm going to have to dig deep for someone that I'm afraid to love.
Yeah. I mean, you tend to feel a slight amount of shame after something goes wrong, like the Deshaun Watson call last year.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That is fair.
Didn't you have Deshaun Watson?
Okay. I guess I'm not immune to the fantasy football takes shaming.
Yeah. Well, you're just you take great pride in it.
Yes, I do.
And the results are there.
There you go.
All right. UltimateDraftKit.com is where you can get the draft kit that Morgan Freeman was talking about. A reminder, FootClanVote.com.
Oh,
FootClan.
You only got one.
That was one.
I was mid-drink.
Wimpy trumpet. Mike normally handles those type of things. FootClanVote.com, you can nominate us. Please do nominate us for the Podcast Awards, the People's Choice, and the sports and recreation categories.
Mm-hmm. Check that box that says you want to be a voter.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. You just go and you vote, and you do it one time, and hopefully we can bring home a #FootClan title. when it comes to the podcast awards this year. All right, quick question of the day. What are some offenses that you do want a part of, fantasy-wise, in 2018 that you did not in 2017? So there's a lot of turnover that happens in the NFL. There are offenses that were hands-off last year that will probably stay that way, right? I mean, there are some
certainly
outside of Shady McCoy. I think you're pretty hands-off with Buffalo this year. In your case, you're fully no Shady either. But there are offenses that are seemingly turning things around. So what's an offense that you were, you didn't want a piece of last year, but you do this year?
Sure. Two come to mind. They are both heavily quarterback related, and it's very common for me to pull this maneuver, which is I don't always like first-year coordinators when there's a massive shift from something that was good, like when someone gets promoted and then there's change. I don't always like that. But the second year with that coordinator, it's very common to see a tick up. And so last year, I was not all about Matt Ryan. I was worried about the Falcons and Sarkisian. And now coming into year 2, I think you were talking about this a couple days ago in the –
Yeah, and I want to give a shout-out to Evan Silva on this because it was a piece of his Falcons write-up. But he brought to light the fact that, look, Matt Ryan's first season with Kyle Shanahan, he had a pretty low touchdown percentage. In fact, it was 3.6%. It jumped way up to that astronomical 7.1%. That's when they were the Falcons that set the league on fire, led the league in points. This is 2 years ago.
The year 2 with Shanahan, and now this will be year 2 with Sarks, who
and
is
last
nowhere.
Year, I was going to just highlight, last year he was back at 3.8% touchdown percentage, which is very low. His career average is 4.6%. If he had even had his career average, Matt Ryan would have had 4 additional touchdows last year.
Well, and there were some.
So you're saying you are back in on Atlanta?
Yes, because there were some fluky drops by Julio. If you listen to the previous episode, we talked about Julio. I discount last season. I don't care that he was inconsistent or had so few touchdowns. I think Julio's great. And the other team that comes to mind is the Tennessee Titans. I think Marcus Mariota is healthy. I think they got it's one of those situations where they got a bad offensive mind out of the way, and they've got talent there, and they brought in a great offensive mind with Matt LaFleur. He comes from the coaching tree of both the aforementioned Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay.
However, that would speak against kind of the situation Ryan was in, where the first year in the system. The thing for me with the Titans is that it's twofold. One, I know Marcus Mariota can play well. And 2, Matt LaFleur is not going to make him play well. He needs to also improve what he did last year. He was bad. He was a bad quarterback last year, and it's not all scheme. You saw 2 years ago.
He was injured.
Okay.
That's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah, I mean, so is what? Michael Crabtree was injured. Everybody that struggles is injured. Sure. I want to make sure that that's known. My point is I don't disagree with you. They were 23rd in yards per game last year. They can absolutely improve. Like you said, old man DeMarco is gone. They have a couple of weapons in the backfield now. That's fine. I'm just saying Marcus Mariota has to play better.
A couple of quick rebuttals to that. One would be the fact that...
You don't think he needs to play better?
No, I certainly...
Because I'm wondering what you're rebutting here.
I'm rebutting the fact that, you say he was bad, and it wasn't just the offensive system, but he was not bad the 2 years prior. His touchdown rate disappeared. He
had the outlier, incredible red zone efficiency.
Well,
we saw would regress,
but it wasn't.
And he dropped 13 touchdowns last year?
No, he went from his rookie season over 5% touchdown rate. His sophomore year actually got better. He improved on that, and then last year was just the abomination. My point is that when I say he's injured, I think we weren't just watching a quarterback that wasn't good. We were watching a quarterback have a down year. The second thing is, while yes, this is the first year in a system. And I talked about, I like the second year. It's a different – I said this with Matt Ryan. It's different when a guy is getting promoted and you had a great season and then the coordinator leaves. In Marcus Mariota's situation, not only did the coordinator leave because of poor performance, but the head coach did, which gives them extra time in training camp over other teams when you have a new head coach coming in. So I think that situation of a brand new – team that is improving the offensive mind is very different than just I've got a new offensive coordinator because I lost my great one.
Okay, sure. I'm going to put Denver in that category. Last year, Denver was 27th in the league in points per game. They were 20th in passing yards per game. This was a bottom half offense that by the end of the season, fantasy owners, they didn't want anything to do with Demaryius Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders or Devontae Booker, really any piece of that offense. There wasn't a quarterback that you would, gone were the days of Trevor Siemian surprising you and all of a sudden he was being picked up and started. No, the wheels fell off of that offense. And yet this year, I think between Thomas and Sanders, Royce Freeman, and maybe, just maybe, I know you're a big Keenum truther, maybe Keenum shows himself to be relevant from week to week streaming-wise. So, look, you can't trust weapons on an offense that has no quarterback.
Yeah, Brock Osweiler and Paxton Lynch.
I don't know if there's a way for you to have said his name more angrily.
Brock Osweiler.
Brock Osweiler.
It's disgusting. They obviously couldn't get the job done. I almost went with Denver because I do like the pickup of Freeman and their other rookie wide receivers.
Oh, absolutely!
Waiting
I should
in
have
the
mentioned
wings
them.
with Cortland Sutton. I really like what Denver's done.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's pretty good. Are there any other offenses that jump out? I thought about talking about Cleveland a little bit.
Certainly.
But the truth of the matter is that while I know there will be some relevant pieces in Cleveland, I'm not 100% certain. I've got Gordon at 22. I've got Landry at 28. That didn't make me feel like I'm all about them. And then I don't have confidence in Chubb versus Hyde. I do like David Njoku, though. I will say that.
Yes.
I like Njoku to have a second-year leap. The confidence at the coaching staff level is high on Njoku. And unlike the Ingram outlier, most often rookie tight ends don't contribute to the degree that Ingram did. And so this is a good opportunity for Njoku with Tyrod Taylor.
Certainly. And Njoku, if you look at his actual snap percentage, it was very low. We're talking like 40s for a lot of games. That's not going to be what – he's going to be on the field a lot more. So I like that. And at the end of the year, a lot of people think I'm a very anti-Browns analyst, and I have been historically because enough said. But I do believe at the end of this year there will be valuable fantasy assets from Cleveland. It's just hard in the draft season to predict who those are going to be because we don't know when Tyrod Taylor's playing or not, when he gets supplanted by
Todd
Baker
Haley.
Mayfield. We don't know
in.
if it's going Jarvis. There's just so much change. I think as time develops and okay, this is what the offense is, you'll be able to pick some guys up off of waivers. You'll be able to make some trades and have some fantasy relevant pieces from the Browns.
All right, I'm going to encourage our listeners to head over to Instagram. You can follow us over there, Instagram.com/fantasyfootballers. We're always posting behind-the-scenes stuff, cool stats, pictures, video, all that type of stuff.
A lot of the stuff that goes on the old IG is nowhere else. You know what I mean? Like the stuff we post on Instagram, you can't find it.
No, it's anywhere. Best practice. Follow us everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
That's really good advice.
MySpace.
I love MySpace.
Wherever you're at, we're at. Just follow or like or click or.
Does Justin Timberlake still own MySpace?
I think he owns it. Yeah, he probably bought it.
Yeah, me and JT. Yeah, go over to MySpace. It's the two of us there hanging out.
If you listened to the show on Tuesday, we were counting down the top 20 consensus rankings between Mike, myself, Jason.
Not Mike, but go on.
No, Mike wasn't on the show, but the rankings are he's part of the consensus.
I feel the need to apologize.
Yeah, tell him you're sorry.
But I will not.
Okay, you feel the need.
Feel the need, but I'm sticking with it.
No,
Mike
you got to stay
strong.
strong.
Lean in, stay with it, guy.
Don't show weakness to Mike.
I'm gonna, take up that mantle.
But we're going to count down the remaining 10 players today, also known as the remaining 9 players today. I overshot on Tuesday's episode. We talked about number 10, but I'll run them back for you. Before we do that, I do want to remind you about a bit of news that just broke a couple of days ago. Packers running back Aaron Jones was suspended without pay for the first 2 games of the 2018 regular season for violating the NFL policy and program for substance abuse. This stems from the arrest that took place, I believe, before the season last year, but we didn't learn about until late in the season, and then kind of an inevitable situation here with him pleading guilty, I think, to a misdemeanor of some sort.
I am fully convinced that this is horrendous news for Aaron Jones because
that's a
even though it's
wrong word.
It is. I mean, I had previous to this suspension. I know there's a lot of people out there that absolutely love Aaron Jones. They think he's going to be the guy. He's the one that should be the guy. And so I'm not saying that this is the consensus by any means, but my belief has been that it will be Ty Montgomery and Jamal Williams leading the way there and not Aaron Jones. With this suspension, what this guarantees is that the other two will get first crack. They will get the opportunity first. Last year, when everyone was healthy, Ty Montgomery got first crack. When he went down, Jamal Williams got the next crack. It took those things to happen for Aaron Jones to have the relevance. And here's the other thing we learned from last year. The Green Bay running backs are really good for fantasy. Like, all three had monster fantasy weeks, all three. So I think unless injury happens, these guys are going, especially with Aaron Rodgers there, they're going to succeed. And they're not going to just get Aaron Jones back and go, you know what, let's blow up what's perhaps, or I would say probably worked well for the first 2 weeks.
Well, I would expect Jamal Williams will get first and second down work out the gate, and you'll see Ty Montgomery on third down. You'll see him in there from time to time. That's how I would expect it to break out to start the year.
I'm a Ty Montgomery truther.
I know you're a Ty Montgomery truther, but
you guys, you
can love. Listen,
on.
You can love Ty Montgomery, and you don't have to make him a 3-down back on an offense that already drafted 2 running backs last year with Williams and Jones. I don't know how many times when we argue about this, I have to tell you, I have Ty Montgomery scoring more fantasy points than the other 2 players.
Yeah.
So,
no, and I didn't make him.
But you don't have to make him a banger.
I didn't make him a 3-down back.
I prefer the word banger.
Packers made him a 3-down back the first 3 games of last year. Yeah. Yes, they did.
This is ridiculous.
All right, moving on.
All right. They were both rookies.
Yes, they were.
Jones and Williams.
Yes, they were.
How did Ty Montgomery hold up?
Not well.
I barely got his name out.
Not well. T.Y. Montgomery.
T.Y. Montgomery. All right. So on the Tuesday show, number 20, Devonta Freeman. 19, Michael Thomas, also known as
Michael Thomas.
18, Keenan Allen. 17, Christian McCaffrey. 16, Jerick McKinnon. 15, LaShawn McCoy. 14, that's not nice. Kareem Hunt.
I didn't do that. That was actually
13, when you say his name out loud.
Yep.
Leonard Fournette at 13. Dalvin Cook at 12. Julio Jones was 11. Odell Beckham Jr., who should have been on this show, was 10. And if you want to hear what we said about those guys, we went through them pretty quick on the last show. And again, this is the consensus rankings. Each of us individually have these guys a little different. But when you combine them, when you put them all together, this is what you get. So, let's kick it off. Sure.
Number 9.
Saquon.
We're going to have to let that one be ignored. They can't all be winners. Brooks is shaking his head. Yeah, we're going to ignore that one. We're not talking to Odell Beckham, but we're going to stay in New York, talk about the team for a second. Why is a rookie going behind a bad offensive line so high in the overall rankings? He's in a top 10 overall. We've got him, consensus, I believe, as our running back 6. Does he deserve that? He has literally never taken a snap on the field. Obviously, I'm making this case despite the fact that we have him here. These are our rankings. So why? Why can we be – and can you be confident? We might rank him there, but are we confident he's going to finish there?
Yeah, look, things happen. Not every rookie running back pans out, a la Trent Richardson, but
Bishop Sankey.
Saquon is a high draft pick. They need a player at this position that has the flexibility to catch the ball out of the backfield. This is a player that is hyper talented in that respect. He's on another level from what we saw in the combine, and obviously the Giants invested and chose to draft Saquon Barkley ahead of a quarterback, a great need that they have. Say whatever you want about Eli Manning, he will not play forever, and his days are coming to an end, and the odds of the Giants being in this top 5 again are low. So this was a heavy, heavy investment in a player that I think a lot of analysts would say has the skill and talent to be a top 5 running back in the NFL.
Yeah, you have a guy that college production and college film was already the clear-cut number one. Everyone knew he was the best one out there. So incredibly athletic and electric on the field. He's 230-plus pounds. And so then he goes, after he was already consensus number one in his own tier, goes to the Combine where he destroys
They named it after him now.
Yeah, it is the Saquon Barkley Combine. I mean, you're talking not a guy who's like David Johnson set the Combine on fire several years ago. Unbelievable. He was a 95th percentile athlete. Saquon Barkley is a 99th percentile. You don't get like better than Saquon. And then you go to a team that while the offense looked bad last year, that was because of injury. You also have incredible opportunity for utilizing his pass-catching skills. The Giants, over the second half of last season, had 63 receptions to the running backs, which might surprise you. That was first in the league. That's the team he's going to. Shane Vereen is not taking over anything. He's not even, I don't believe, does he even have a team right now? But my point is the passing work will be there for him. And anyone, look at Christian McCaffrey last year. Christian McCaffrey was a poor running back. He didn't perform well. He wasn't efficient. And he was a RB1 for fantasy because he's so good at the passing game. I think you've got the passing game skills of McCaffrey with a much bigger, better NFL body. So yeah, I'm fully confident in Saquon Barkley's success.
Poor Shane Vereen does not have a home right now. He's a free agent.
Sorry, Shane.
And you really rubbed it in.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
and that's
Shane.
pretty mean. No, I think we all buy into the opportunity. Look, the opportunity for him to carry that offense is going to be there. You know, you said last year their offense failed due to injury. Well, they failed due to a bad stable of running backs, a bad offensive line. They shored that up, and a bad quarterback play.
Terrible. We haven't even brought up how awful the offensive play calling was last year in New York, and I think that's been greatly improved with the new options there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, speaking of electric, let's talk about Quip.
Ooh,
let's talk about Quip. The truth is that most of us are brushing our teeth wrong, Jason.
Oh, no.
Not for long enough, and we forget to change our, we forget to brush on time every day.
Not me. I got to quit.
Most brands focus on selling flashy gimmicks rather than better brushing, but not Quip. And we've talked about Quip before. Mike's brought it up. Electric toothbrush costs a fraction of the bulk of your brushes, packs the right amount of vibrations, keeps your teeth clean, built-in timer. It's easy. It makes it simple, and they have a subscription so you don't have to think about that anymore, and they'll just give you new brush heads every 3 months for just $5. Free shipping worldwide. There's this little mount. You stick it on the mirror. When I got my Quip, you just right on the mirror. Easy to take on the road with you. One of Time's best inventions. Was on Oprah's O list. Quip starts at just $25, and if you get to getquip.com/footballers right now, you'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/footballers, spelled GETQUIP.com/footballers. We want to thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
Yes, and the biggest announcement here, we've got to make sure you guys know there's only a week left until we are doing a live show in Dallas, kicking off the NFFC. It's going to be awesome. If you haven't watched the Minneapolis live show or haven't been to a live show, it's electric. It is so much fun.
Much electricity.
We want you to come, and you have a week left to get tickets. Our Minneapolis show sold out. Thank you to the Foot Clan. And look, go to ballerslive.com. Our tickets for our show, they're only $25. And if you want to go to the NFFC, you can get a bundle with it, which is a field level pass and our ticket.
200 plus NFL players will be at the NFFC.
Yes, it's an incredible event that a lot of people were at last year. The bundle price is $85. Do you know how much a field level pass is?
I actually don't.
$120. So you can get a cheaper field level pass with a ticket to our show. Why not do that? So go to ballerslive.com. We want to see you here there. We're so excited. 1 week.
Number 8.
DeAndre Hopkins comes in at number 8. His average draft position, Jason, get this, is number 8.
Nailed it.
Here's something crazy. How many bust weeks did he have last year?
I'm guessing 0.
That would be correct. 0 bust weeks last season.
That's his biggest negative.
I don't know what you just said.
I said that's his biggest negative.
I thought you said that's as big as negative, and I said
that would make no sense.
I need to learn.
Yeah, I literally have a note here that the biggest negative for DeAndre Hopkins is that he had no negatives. And while that is a little crazy, it's also the truth.
It's very hard to do that.
You can't find something he did wrong. You can only find things that he did so incredibly well that they are going to be very difficult to replicate. And while it might sound silly to say that that's his biggest negative, it really, really is, because you don't see people with over a 30% target market share among the team. He's well over last season, over 50% wide receiver market share. Those things are astronomically high. Now, he will still be a huge target hog, but in order to, if he were to do that, let's just say if he does that back-to-back seasons, I think that would be the first time in history. So my biggest worry with Hopkins is simply, can he possibly replicate this? I've talked about how Deshaun Watson's touchdown percentage is 100% not replicatable, but he also didn't have Watkins for the whole season. He's presumably going to have him. I worry a little bit about Hopkins. I have Julio ahead of Hopkins.
Really?
I do. I firmly think that I would rather have Odell Beckham Jr. and Julio and Antonio Brown more than Hopkins in a redraft or keeper league. But that's not to say I don't. I mean,
people are reacting very strongly to the year that he had. I mean, Hopkins was 4 in 2015, had the really bad year with Brock Osweiler. And then in 2017, last year, number 1. I've seen the reaction. It's so strong. In dynasty leagues, he goes number 1 frequently. So I do think that reaction's too strong. I mean, there's no reason you cannot. And this is one of those things as a fantasy owner you have to be willing and able to do, is what Jason's doing, and say, look, what has happened isn't guaranteed to happen again. Look, people could have had that approach with Matt Ryan. I think the biggest negative for Matt Ryan 2 years ago was that there was no negative about Matt Ryan 2 years ago, right? It's the same argument. And, well, Hopkins can be great and still regress. That's the point I think that Jason's making there. Exactly. Is he could have a 22% market share, a 25%, and still be great. Still be everything that they need and everything they want. But Will Fuller's health, Deshaun Watson's efficiency, those are still question marks. I don't think you should have any fear as a fantasy owner if you decide to plant your flag on Julio Jones or Odell Beckham Jr. ahead of Hopkins. So I do love Hopkins. I think he's going to be great.
I mean,
but the numbers were incredible.
Yeah, where he's going right now, like you said, we have him at 8. He is the consensus 8 in average draft position. You might be able to grab a running back there, and then I've seen Odell Beckham and Julio drop into that third round, the beginning of the second round, where you could grab one of those guys with a great running back.
Melvin Gordon.
Like Melvin
Number
Gordon.
7.
Melvin Gordon, number 7. Sorry, Jason.
No.
Announcer talked right over him. But you have to get the number in. There are the people they don't understand.
Yeah, I know. It's tough. It's tough in the streets.
So
Melvin Gordon.
Gordon's going 1 pick after DeAndre Hopkins in most drafts. Now, we have him at 7. We got him a pick ahead. If you're staring down those two players, are you leaning Gordon most often?
But I didn't listen to you. Melvin Gordon and who?
Hopkins.
Oh, yeah, I would go Melvin Gordon. I would go Melvin Gordon over those other than Antonio Brown, when it is a solid, rock-solid all-star, top 5 potential running back versus one of those wide receivers. I'm going with the running back right now. That's something that I think, looking at last year at the inconsistency versus consistency, I am pretty much a first-round running back.
Gordon was 7th in fantasy in 2016, 5th in 2017. Look, you get dirty looks from Mike when we talk about Melvin Gordon oftentimes because of some inefficiencies in his numbers. But I am a major Melvin Gordon fan this year. I have him higher than 7 overall, and I think he's going to be great. This is the thing. We were talking before the show about the Chargers. They were a great offense last year.
Yeah.
A great offense. I believe they were 4th in the NFL in yards per game, something close to that. And this is a team that, the question marks were there last year. They probably should have made the playoffs. You had that crazy play, I think it was by Boyd, that got the Bills in instead of the Chargers. This is a great team, and he is their workhorse. So I love him.
Yeah, I was talking with Evan Silva on another podcast recently. We were talking bold predictions, and I had the Chargers down. I don't think I actually got to this on the episode, but I had them making a Super Bowl run. I think they are legitimately a great team. And look, if you look at the efficiency metrics of Melvin Gordon, just about any which way you slice it, he's been not that great. I will grant that because I'm a big Melvin Gordon supporter. He hasn't been that great, but their offensive line, they haven't opened up great holes for him. He has been breaking tackles and really doing quality work as a running back. Obviously, that's how he finished that way. The second half of last season, he broke 24 tackles, which was tied for most in the NFL. So while you say, oh, he's inefficient, that doesn't mean he's a bad running back. He's a very good running back, and he gets so much work. There's no one on that team that's really going to come in and say, hey, I'm taking over. Sorry, Austin Eckler.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's move on.
Number 6.
Ezekiel Elliott at number 6. Some may consider that a travesty.
In which direction?
In the direction that we have him too low.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
We have him at 6. The average draft position is 4 overall right now. He was the RB10, and he played 10 games.
Yeah, he's
by that logic, he'll be the RB16 this year.
If you assume he could play 16, maybe he only gets one game in.
Oh,
he's number 1 running back.
That'll be a nice week. He was the second best running back in 2016 last year. Like I said, number 10, despite 10 games played. I think that people might be surprised that we have Alvin Kamara at 5. I'll just bring it up.
I don't.
I know you don't.
I mean, this is
it's my fault.
I would
entirely
never take Alvin Kamara over Ezekiel Elliott, not even in a full PPR league, because Ezekiel Elliott is
he's incredible.
Unbelievably great running back behind a still great offensive line. And yeah, they're going to stack the box, but I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, Leonard Fournette last year going into the season was like,
was a good. This was a point. That was a good team. And Brooks, what's your win total for the Cowboys this year? Brooks is the
resident
Dallas
Cowboys fan.
Truther.
6.
6 wins. We saw this many times. You can't run the ball the way you want to run the ball if you're losing. And I'm not saying Dallas is going down the drain. They could absolutely have a bounce-back year. Dak could bounce back. Zeke is obviously a top 5 talent in the NFL at the position. They've got to find their pass catchers. But if they struggle, like I have no doubt that New Orleans is going to be great. I think New Orleans is a locked-in playoff team. I don't feel that way about Dallas. So I feel like there are some holes in invest. You know me. I like to invest in running backs on winning teams. So when it's a heads-up decision in half-point or full-point leagues, it's Alvin Kamara for me. If it's a standard league, I'm going Zeke.
Whenever a guy has the amount of guaranteed volume that Zeke has, along with the production history, I am willing to completely say it's like, for a while the Vikings weren't good, but you took Adrian Peterson because he's freaking Adrian Peterson. Over the last 3 years,
that's not even regular Adrian Peterson.
Over the last
that's freaking Adrian Peterson.
You're darn right. I mean, that was when he was AP all day, or as people would get mad at me saying AD all day. AP still works, people. It's his initials. Anyways, Ezekiel Elliott has been, if you look at finishes on a weekly basis of games started, finishing as a running back 1, as in the top 12, he's the number 1. He's ahead of Le'Veon Bell, ahead of Kamara. If you look at finishing as an RB1 or 2 over that time frame, and this is just percentage based, I realize Kamara hasn't played that length of time, he's still the number 1 over Le'Veon Bell. 96% of his games, he's a running back 1 or 2, and 76% of the time he's a running back 1. If you're staring down, maybe Kamara went ahead of you. If you're staring down Zeke and you're worried about the quality of his team, I'm just saying, I'm not.
That's not going
to
look. But I'm bringing it up because I'm talking about how you decide between the guys 5 and 6.
Sure, and for me, I would
this
go
always
volume.
happens when you do countdowns. Is you have to decide between 2 players, and so I'm choosing. I mean, Kamara. We'll just move on.
Sure.
Number 5.
look, last year, this run that he had from week 7 through 13 is unparalleled. 11, 9, 1, 4, 3, 1, 1 in fantasy finishes at the running back position. And then, he took a week off with the concussion and came back for a 10, 21, 3 finish to the year. He is everything to that offense, and even more with Mark Ingram out. So I love Alvin Kamara. Like I said, if you just took – this is crazy. If you just took his receiving stats, he would have been the wide receiver 21 by himself. Just the receiving stats, and then you get all of the running back ability. There is some regression that's built in. I think it gets compensated for by volume, and I just slightly prefer Kamara over Ezekiel Elliott. You don't go wrong either way. There's no real reason to fight back and forth.
Look, while I desperately desire to bring up how stupid you are, because that's what best friends do, I can't. And I'll let the Foot Clan in on a little insight here. When I statted everybody out, we stat every team out, top to bottom, players that you don't see on our rankings. We've got the whole league statted out. And when I finished, do you want to know where Alvin Kamara was? He was my running back 3.
Yeah.
Ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. When I statted everybody out, I had him ahead. So I don't blame you for saying, no, you go with Kamara. I just literally, the way that I draft, I think I can't get myself because of volume guarantee to take. So I literally had to fudge Kamara's stats down a little bit from what I believe he'll do, just so that my rankings appeared the truth of how I would draft.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I am the reason he is where he is. You have him at 4. That is Zeke, and then Mike has him at 5. I've got Kamara up at 3.
Where do you have Zeke?
I have him at 6.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Well, I have Gurley, Bell, Kamara, Johnson, Gordon.
So you have Gordon
Zeke.
above Zeke.
I
wow.
do.
All right. I mean, they're a much better team this season. I will give you that, and he does have guaranteed volume. But I just don't. I think
I understand. That's
like
not
Saquon.
a popular opinion.
If
but you just said you'd take Julio Jones over DeAndre Hopkins, and it's a similar
fair.
situation.
Yeah, that's fair.
For me on that front.
Here's the thing: whenever you talk about a top 10 list, you're squabbling over little things because we all like all of these guys.
Let's
They're the
not
top 10.
squabble over number 4.
Number 4.
Little known player, Antonio Brown.
Yeah, there's no squabbling here.
Go ahead and read. You found a stat on Antonio Brown.
This is my favorite stat. I couldn't believe it. Brooks actually found this, and when I looked this up, I'll tell you, Brooks, I had to.
Big Riz is a big fan.
I had to re-add it a number of times to make sure.
Yeah,
right.
I literally saw this and I went, that can't be true. And I went and I vetted it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. So listen, in 2017, there was not a single player in the NFL who reached 116 receptions. Nor was there a single player in the NFL who reached 1,589 receiving yards, okay?
69.
1,569 receiving yards. Thank you, Brooks. No player reached either of those plateaus last season. Antonio Brown, those are the numbers he has averaged 116 receptions, 1,569 receiving yards over the past 5 seasons. Not to mention, he's averaged 10 touchdowns. I mean, he is. When I said in the Minneapolis live show, one of my topics was saddle a stud. You have to have one of those studs. I said it then. A stud is a running back, or is Antonio Brown. He is an unfathomable stud. If you took him with the first pick overall,
that's fine.
That's 100% fine.
Number 3.
He's back.
Oh.
David Johnson comes in at number 3. Oh, man.
I miss Mike.
He is the ADP number 3 overall. His 2016 stat line is fun to stare at. 293 carries, 1,239 yards, 16 touchdowns, and then he was also a wide receiver. 80 receptions for 879 and 4 on 120 targets. Much like that Kamara stat, he would have been the wide receiver 30 in PPR leagues just with his receiving totals. So now we look to 2018. Our staff writer, Dr. Matthew Betts, He says the injury risk is very, very low. And obviously this was not a leg injury.
No.
So more than 9 months removed, he's back. So if he's back, does it matter? Are the Cardinals good enough to make it matter? I think we say yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Carlos Hyde last year, because of his work in the passing game on a poor team, was the running back 9. And so will David Johnson be able to replicate the 2016 season where he had 20 total touchdowns? No. Say that right now. He's not getting 20 touchdowns.
30?
The Cardinals aren't going to score enough to have that happen. But he is still the secondary receiving weapon there. He has said himself this offseason that it is still incredibly important to him on a personal level to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. That's a goal that the team wants to get him, and I just love when teams actually admit that stuff and the players say that matters because we care about counting stats.
Expensive. That'll be very expensive for the Cardinals.
How do you mean?
Well, he's up for a contract.
Yes, and he's going to get it before the season.
Yeah. 1,000 and 1,000 gets expensive.
Well, that's why they're going to try to,
lock it up beforehand. Yeah. He's still holding out.
Yeah, whenever you have it's like Alvin Kamara. The reason we love him is not because he's just some unfathomable between the tackles rusher. It's because of how efficient he is in the passing game. Not to take anything away from his rushing game, but that's not where his bread and butter is.
In fantasy, you need both.
You need
to be ranked at the top.
To be a stud. And David Johnson is both an absolute elite wide receiver and one of the best goal line between the tackles.
Well, and right now you have
outside runners.
Just so people understand, Arizona you're going to start the season with Sam Bradford. You've got Larry Fitzgerald in the slot. You're going to have Christian Kirk outside, and then you're going to have some mishmash of Bryce Butler and J.J. Nelson on the other side. David Johnson's arguably the number 2 pass weapon on this team behind Larry Fitzgerald. So
yes.
That is something that has great value, and that's why he's at number 3.
Number 2.
Todd Gurley. Oh, you old friend. You old so-and-so. Wow, what a season for Todd Gurley. We've got him at number 2. He only had one more carry in 2017 compared to 2016, but gained over 220 additional rushing yards. And the big one, the one that everyone wants to see from Ezekiel Elliott, the target count went from 58 targets to 87 targets last year. Made all the difference, made him the number 1 running back in fantasy football.
It made a huge difference, and it wasn't just because of an injury. A lot of times it's like, this player got involved and was involved in the passing game, and it was due to that. This was because of a coaching change. This was because of a coach coming in and saying, wait, this guy has a skill set that we're not utilizing. You saw it in college. Let's get him the ball in space and watch what he does. The one thing I would say, I believe he had 6 receiving touchdowns.
Little high.
That's not a number that's happening next season.
No, could, but it's
not
a little
number.
high.
Yes. I mean, it's similar to David Johnson's 22 years ago. I think that Todd Gurley's touchdowns come down, and I will say this. While he is great in the passing game, I don't expect him to cede a lot of passing work. They did draft John Kelly, a running back that I think is very good. He was one of my favorite guys prior to the draft, which now is dead because he's behind Todd Gurley, but he is good in the passing game. So if they did want to utilize him and rest Todd Gurley a little bit more, they now have the opportunity to do that they didn't have someone to come in and actually succeed last season.
Based on how their season went, I wouldn't do that if I were them.
I think they want to keep him healthy more than they want to.
He was healthy.
It sure was. Then they want more of that health.
Agreed.
I will say this. I was in a Fantasy Pros expert mock draft a little bit ago. I had the number 2 draft spot behind Scott Barrett, and I had him queued up, Lev Bell 1, Todd Gurley 2, and I thought for sure I'd get Lev Bell because Todd Gurley's been going 1 everywhere. I was really disappointed. I was very sad. How's that make you feel, Andy?
You were sad that you got Lev Bell?
No, I was sad that I got Todd Gurley.
Oh, yeah, that's dumb. Todd Gurley's great.
Okay.
I agree that 6 receiving touchdowns might not replicate.
Sour. I'm just sour on Todd Gurley because
no reason to.
He scorched me last year.
But I'm not surprised because you like John Kelly and I hate John Kelly.
Well, that's ridiculous.
I think he's terrible.
What?
Awful.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I don't like him at all.
We're gonna go watch some film.
He's
after
one
this.
of my.
Brooks,
he's one of my
hit
least.
the button. Let's wrap this show. We got to go watch film.
He's one of my least favorite running backs in the entire rookie class by far. And there's a reason he went where he went. Do you admit? Look, you want to sing your praises all about Rashad Penny and, I got him up in the first round and what I saw was right. What do you say about John Kelly?
Because he 100% admit
he
that.
fell. He fell in the draft.
He fell in the draft much further than
he is Joe somebody.
Look,
he's just an
I will
average
say this.
player.
My notes on John Kelly, I just happened to have this on the desk.
You've got your diary.
I've got my diary, my notes on John Kelly. In the beginning, I have a line that says, read that for me, Andy.
Completely unspecial.
Completely unspecial.
Exactly.
And then I kept watching, and I changed. I mean, that's the thing. I think he is a very well-rounded player.
If you took Marshawn Lynch, and then you took away about like the skill rating in Madden for Marshawn Lynch, and you took like 3 points away from every ability, that's John Kelly.
You got to take some LBs away as well.
Number 1.
Lev Bell comes in at number 1 on our consensus top 20. Ho-hum, Lev Bell, you're great.
I just don't see how you don't have him here. He might get off to a slow start because of training camp like he did last year, but no one has done it. Look, Todd Gurley had a down year 2 years ago. You could argue that maybe it was an outlier this last year for how good he did. David Johnson's been injured.
Still have the contract
Zeke's
situation.
Offense. Yeah, but he had the contract situation last season as well. It didn't matter. You have never, ever, ever seen Le'Veon Bell be bad. You've never, ever, ever had him be, a starter for a season and not be pretty much the best running back in the league. So, yeah, okay, there's possibility from previous suspensions, the previous injuries or contract. There's risk there, but there's risk with everyone. I want the guy who has always done it and will continue to do it. He runs like nobody else, and they
only running back with 400 touches.
They feed him the ball.
Sure.
An obscene amount, which
we
I
should.
love.
You know what we should do? We should rank him number 1 on our top 20 based on that.
Yeah, not much to talk about.
Mailbag.
Jay Grizz. Don't
Keeping
worry,
it down.
Jason. Don't worry, Jason.
Thank you. I was ready. Did you see?
I don't want people to hear you do the mailbag that close to a holiday. That's just not safe. It's not right. It's not appropriate.
The holiday was yesterday.
I know. It's too close. I want them to. They might
got to bring the people back down.
They might be taking an extra day off of work, and they need to keep their food down that they ate yesterday. So we'll just spare them. If you want to do it, you could do it for the Saturday show. Mike won't be back then.
I might just do that. Prepare yourselves, people, for Saturday.
We talked about it at the beginning. If you have a question, go to thefantasyfootballers.com, click submit a question, or dial our voicemail hotline, Jason. That number is
302-646-464
TFFB.
Nailed it.
No, mate, I'm not asking that again. All right, let's jump into a voicemail.
Hey, Ballers, this is Jared from San Diego. RIP to my Chargers, by the way. Just a quick question for you regarding auction drafts. We have a guy in our league who is really excited about switching to an auction draft, and I just wanted your guys' thoughts on if you like them, some tips and tricks and strategies for an auction draft versus a standard snake draft. Thanks, guys. Love your show. Bye.
Do you like auction?
Yeah, I love auctions. They are a really cool way that levels the playing field. If you've got, I think though that you need to be in a league where everybody knows how to play. Everybody's a good quality player, because while you make the accusation that it levels the playing field, it also means that if you've got an uneven,
experience level,
that one guy can take advantage everywhere as opposed to just in the rounds where players drop to him. It's not my favorite. I will say that. I prefer, redraft. I love the draft. I love the average draft position and all the strategy that we spend months in.
It can be fun. We've been in some good ones.
Yeah, but I would say this. We have a couple articles on the website, the Fantasy Footballers, that are outstanding. We've got beginner articles for auctions. We just recently put up an article of early 2018 auction trends. So if you want to see how's this looking this year, that would be the best resource. We just don't have time to get into every auction tip.
All right, AJ in New Jersey has a question. Me and my league mates were thinking of changing to a fab system, and I was wondering how much money each team should start out with. Also, is your podcast on TV? Thank you.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
Do you have
AJ? Is YouTube TV?
Yeah, if you have YouTube on your TV, we're on your TV.
Then yes.
If you have the Fantasy Sports Network, I think we're still on there as well.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yes, we are. If you want a video product that can be put on your TV, we have it for you.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube.com/fantasyfootballers. Fab.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you need to start out with? It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. But
everybody's got the same, but 100 will make it easy to listen to podcasts.
100, yes, exactly. That's the format we talk about. It's easy. If you're listening to someone else that talks percentage-based and they say 25% of your budget, then, it's $25. Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Also, PSA, make sure if you are new, turn on $0 bidding.
Yeah, absolutely. That way you can
keep playing.
Yeah, during the week. Noah in California, who would you take in a full PPR league, Demaryius Thomas or Stephon Diggs? I've been seeing them picked up pretty close to each other in mock drafts. I'm hesitant on who I would take. Love your show. I watch it on YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube TV?
Maybe. I lean the Demaryius way. And by lean, I mean I severely go the Demaryius way.
I lean the Stephon Diggs way, and by lean, I do mean lean. I think it's a little bit closer, but I have Stephon Diggs ahead in my PPR rankings.
I can tell you Mike leans the Diggs way by a nose as well.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm starting to have some worries with Demaryius Thomas, and I don't like it.
There were some signs that perhaps he's not the same explosive player.
I mean, it's so masked by the poor quarterback play,
yes,
like we were talking about earlier.
But it can happen. You can degradate?
Degradation?
Yeah, I think so.
Nailed it.
That sounds right. I think that can happen during bad quarterback play, and you don't see it. So I still lean Thomas, though. I think he's going to play 16. That's one of the things that I don't think Diggs is going to do.
Fair enough.
All right.
Next question.
Daniel in San Diego. How do I get into the Listener League? I'm a 2-time champ, love listening to the podcast, want to take my talents to the FF Ballers League.
Whew. Well, Daniel, I don't think it's time. Were you checking the date here, Andy? It was 4th of July.
I believe this month we'll talk about that, right?
This month
Brooks,
we will
Brooks,
open
we're
up,
working it out, right? The Listener League?
Oh, yeah.
We will open up submissions. Brooks, the producer of the show, we found Brooks, or he found us, whichever way you look at it, because he submitted an unbelievably great submission for the Listener League. We knew he was a great video editor based on his submission, and we used him to cut up some other things in the future.
And then we hired him and moved him here.
Yeah. So what you need to do is you will end up coming up with whatever you think we will love seeing.
What we don't love. Congrats on the 2 titles. Trophy cases do not get you in the Listener League.
Yeah, I'm happy if you got them.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm fine if you don't.
But don't send me a screenshot of your trophy case.
It's not a resume to say I'm good enough to be here.
Right.
It's a submission to say I'm awesome enough to be here.
Yes, that is a good way to put it.
And I love the show.
Yes, and
I love the show, and
yeah.
and you're a good person, and you want to play with a bunch of other good people and have a lot of fun. I will say this as well: when you do your submission, we get a lot. We get a lot of submissions. So if it is a variety, kind of an assortment of blocks of text, it will probably be hard to make your mark compared to everybody else.
There is.
Doesn't mean we won't read it.
Yeah, it does.
It might mean it to some, but
TLDR is a real thing.
We try to get through as many as we can.
Too long, didn't read.
But you need to separate yourself with something fun, and we're not going to tell you what to do because it always surprises us every year. One year, somebody painted a Tyrann Mathieu picture on canvas and mailed it to us. One time, somebody like Brooks put in a video. We've had people that have sung songs. We have had people that have
drawn pictures.
Yeah.
We've had, which is now a T-shirt that you can get at shopballers.com. We had someone edit a video of us talking into the Eye of the Tiger theme song.
Oh, that was really special. We've had somebody that walked around on sightseeing on Hawaii.
Right, in Hawaii.
And took pictures. Took a picture of us around and took pictures all around Hawaii.
So it was like we were in Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's clever.
Yeah. I wish I was actually there.
I thought you were saying you wish you were clever.
I wish I was in the Listener League.
I bet you wish you were
a
Listener League champion, except I am.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Again, reminder, ballerslive.com if you want to come to Dallas, Philly, New York, Phoenix for one of our live shows. They are so much fun. It is always a joy. Look, we've done a lot of these shows, but we have the same mindset about them, which is we are here to help you in your league and to entertain you and to become a part of your day. because we love fantasy football. That has never changed. Nothing has ever changed. So when we go to these live events with fans, the stories that come out of these live events about you and your league and the shirt, the amount of people wearing 55 shirts.
55! Oh!
You were late. You were late. Yeah.
Dang.
You were late. But no, hanging out with you guys is the best. It's the best. That's why we play fantasy football, to have fun. What's going on with draft?
Oh, hey, there's a really cool thing everybody should know about. We love best ball on draft.
We always talk about it.
Play it left, right, and center. It's like my favorite game to play. They have just announced $1 million tournament winner. Basically, it's a $25 entry. Enter in, and if you have the best lineup, the details are in the app, but if you have the best lineup, you will win $1 million. And I want to make sure that
that's not true.
Oh, that is not true. That's the prize.
That's the prize pool.
That's the prize pool.
The first place winner will win $100,000.
I want that
and
to
there's
be
a variety of awards.
A Foot Clan listener. Just like last year, Foot Clan listener took down the final table at the Draft World Series event. So go to draft.com/ballers.
Absolutely. And Jason's going to be doing a live streamed best ball draft this week on our Twitter channel.
We're giving you tips on Saturday as well. And
best
oh my
ball's
goodness.
So fun.
Not only that, but if you're playing anything at best ball, if you go to bestball.com/ballers, you are entered into the flyaway contest.
Yes.
To paid tickets to fly you out to New York City.
And see us.
And watch our live event there.
All right, that is it for today's episode. We'll be back on Saturday, the Footcast tomorrow for the jointhefoot.com followers. And thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully you had fun. Brooks, did you have fun?
Of course.
I did.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.